picture yourself as a gazelle in the African plains. You're just hanging out, doing what gazelles do, all right? And then all of a sudden, you hear this commanding roar from a huge male lion off in the distance. What do? You take off that way as fast as you can, right? After all, you're a gazelle, you're fast, you've got a head start, you can't see it yet. So you're going to get out of here and you're going to live another day. The only problem is what's waiting for you that way. See, it's interesting how lions hunt. The lions will position you right here in between the roar and the pride. They set a trap for you. And so even though you think you're doing the right thing, you're in trouble. You can see the pride setting up a wall, and then hear the gazelle, and that roar is going to come from out here. And so when you hear the roar, it's obvious what you do, right? You take off running. It feels safe. It feels automatic. It feels natural. But it's the absolute wrong thing to do. Imagine that. Guess what? We all act like gazelle every day. Isn't that good news? So here's the problem. We have a part of our brain that is very much like a gazelle brain. It's called the limbic system. It's your emotional brain. And its job is to keep you safe. Its job is to really interpret the situation around you. Now, it's very powerful, and it gets first dibs on how you feel about any given situation. And so that's what's actually going on. So the gazelle only has one option when it hears the roar, to turn and go, unfortunately. What do you do when you hear a roar in your life? Now, you actually can react without even thinking about it. Is that a little scary? The reaction is to run away from the roar, as you've seen. But if you would slow down and respond, you would realize, well, there's actually only one lion that way, and there's miles to get around him, right? So I'm going to take my chances this direction instead of the 15 that are staring at me in the bushes that direction. All right? So that's what would happen. Now, why does this happen? Why do you react? Why do you react automatically, and why do we oftentimes find ourselves regretting our decisions? It's a misinterpretation of your subconscious mind that's trying to protect you. It's either going to read a threat or it's going to read a reward. And that's its primary mission. So, when it reads a reward, happy chemicals. Look how happy those chemicals are. Right? And so when it sees a reward, okay, then now we have happy chemicals, and now you're the best version of yourself. You're bonding, you're making relationships, your discipline's better, you're focused, you know, your memory is better. But if your subconscious mind reads a threat or interprets a threat, then stress chemicals. And you literally lose your mind. Literally. It pulls the resources from your thinking brain, and so your memory goes, again, your emotional control goes, everything goes out the window when you have your fight or flight. So Tom Bilyeu says this, he says, the game you're playing is not actually success, it's not status, it's not even possession. The game is brain chemistry. What are you actually releasing in the situation? Well, what if we could control that? Let's think about some things in the moment. Let's think about some of these examples. Whenever you get feedback or constructive criticism at work, okay, imagine your boss walks up and says, hey, I've been watching you. I'd like to give you a little feedback. Is that all right? You guys love that? Even in that moment, you felt a little cortisol just happen, right? Everybody said, is he talking to me? Who's he looking at? Who's he looking at? And in that moment, it feels safe, it feels right to get defensive. Why aren't you talking to them? Why are you talking to me? What's the problem? What's the problem? We're backing up. That feels normal, but obviously you can't get better that way. Meeting new people socially or at work, it feels right to be closed off and not try to relate. It feels right to look at them as competition, right? Instead of be excited about a new potential relationship, all right? When you have lack of certainty or choice, doesn't it feel safe to be pessimistic about the future? If you don't know what's coming, plan for the worst. I'm just a planner, right? I'm just a planner. Confrontation, right? Confrontation with a colleague. How many have seen this? It feels right to try to win or try to be right? Win the game instead of keep the relationship as the top priority in that matter. We're getting a trend here. We need to learn to let go of what feels safe and what feels automatic so that we can live with wisdom. Sales calls, feels right to procrastinate that Eventually, you're going to get a rejection, right? That's not going to feel good. So it feels safe to push that off as far as we possibly can. The solution lies in what I think is probably the largest scientific breakthrough of our generation, maybe even bigger than that. I can't overstate this. It's neuroplasticity. Neuro means brain, plastic means changeable. That's simple. In the mid-90s, we realized the brain is not static. It actually changes. Simply put, attention changes your brain. You are all neuroplasticians based on what you think about each day. So there's so much going on in the brain, but so much of it you're in control of, all right? So we all know that you can think about something, right? You can sit and contemplate an idea. But when you realize you can think about yourself contemplating it, that's where the magic happens. You can think about what you think about, and that's what steers the ship. That's what steers the ship. See, some of you follow me. 3 of you follow me right there, and that's perfect. That's what we're looking for. Honestly, if you think about what you think about, you start to build frameworks in your head that interpret the situation. That's literally what leads you to feel the way you feel, okay? And so here's the thing. This is all happening in your subconscious, and it's extremely powerful. Let me show you how powerful it is. This is my lovely wife and I on a cruise. And you forget how big these ships are until you go stand next to one again, right? I want you to picture this boat going full blast this direction as fast as it can. And then all of a sudden in the moment, I want to go the other direction. So I get off this little door and I start paddling with a little paddle. And I'm like, I want to go this way. That's what it's like when your conscious mind tries to go against your subconscious mind in the moment. It doesn't have a chance. But some of you guys still look skeptical. You're numbers people, I can tell. That's fine. Processing power of your conscious mind is 2,000 neurons per second. The processing power of your subconscious mind is 4 billion. You thought my ratio was off, didn't you? 4 billion neurons a second. So I want you to think about this. Navy SEALs, some of the toughest people we know, all right? They go through the most grueling mental and physical challenges of maybe anybody anywhere. And what's interesting, after 9/11, we needed more Navy SEALs because they weren't graduating through BUD/S training fast enough. And so they went to investigate what is making the difference. Because even after they got past the rigorous physical challenges, and they're physical enough, right? They're athletic enough, still only 1 in 7 would make it through the 6-month grueling training. So 6 out of 7 of these physical specimens couldn't get it done. So they started to research it, and guess what they found? One of the major differences of the Navy SEALs that made it was constant, optimistic self-talk throughout the entire BUD/S training. Can it really be that simple? The hardest thing you'll ever endure in your life, and the difference was they were constantly wiring their mind and wiring their frameworks. I'm supposed to be here. I'm a champion. I'm not going to get broken by this. This has been done before, and I'm going to be the next to do it. There is no other option. The winners were doing that the whole time. Imagine if it were that simple. Now, if that works for Navy SEALs doing the hardest thing you can undertake, do you think it would help you in what you're endeavoring to do? Imagine that. Today, you can reprogram your mind to go towards the roar. You can stop the automatic response and make the mistake. You can actually go the right direction. Now, I wanted to show you this just really quickly so you'd realize this is what a neuron looks like. When you think, catch this, you're actually growing something in your head. You're actually growing matter, all right? Protein is being synthesized into this neuron when you give something attention. And then if you keep thinking, it gets thicker, and it gets wrapped in a myelin sheath, and it goes way faster. Do you see the little thing going down here slowly? You guys see that? Do you see it going really quickly right there? This is a habit. That's what a habit looks like in your brain. And when you keep thinking about something, it gets faster and faster and faster. It literally goes 200 times faster. Now, here's the good news and bad news. This habit can be fear or gratitude. It doesn't matter. Your subconscious mind doesn't matter which one you create. You can be thinking anxious, pessimistic, negative, grateful, optimistic, or persevering. Just like the Navy SEALs that made it. They were growing the right thoughts in their mind. They were building the right frameworks. So when I realized how powerful this was, but also how simple, I started to journal this way. So instead of making life goals, I started making thought goals. I started making goals around the thoughts that I wanted in my operating system in my brain. And this made such a shift that people around me wanted to do the same thing. So I actually created the thought goal journal. So there was just a simple way that you could daily wire in the operating system that you wanted. Okay, but the bottom line is it takes 7 minutes a day for about 2 months to grow that full habit that I just showed you, to fully turn the ship in the direction that you want. Now, you know, how many people think mindset's important? See, everybody understands mindset's important, but you know what most people won't do is take the time to set their mind. If your mindset's important, you've got to be intentional about it. So make the decision today to wire your brain to let go of what feels automatic, what feels safe, and start living with wisdom. Start living your adventure. Thank you very much.